Damar Hamlin showing signs of improvement, still in critical condition, expected to remain in the ICU at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. Here's the latest statement from the Bills that was issued Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Damar remains in the ICU in critical condition with signs of improvement noted yesterday and overnight. He is expected to remain under intensive care as his healthcare team continues to monitor and treat him. The league had a conference call yesterday afternoon, and the NFL made it clear they're not going to be providing any updates about Damar Hamlin. That's for the team, for the family, for the hospital.
Right.
The NFL, out of respect to that situation and everything going on for Damar Hamlin, they are deferring to the team, the family, the hospital. But the league is monitoring the situation. The league wants to understand ultimately what happened. And the league took time yesterday to explain all of the various pieces that are in place to activate immediately when there is a serious health condition on the field, and the proximity to a level 1 trauma center where emergency care of the highest degree can be provided if something does happen during a game. And it's an impressive system. It is. You would expect it. You would expect it.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
I mean, you would expect all of the bells and whistles, all of the highest elements of protection. But it's still nice to know it's there.
Right.
And the one thing I keep coming back to is there's lower levels of sport where they just don't have this. And it's great that it's available at the highest levels, but you hope that minimal protections are in place. High school, youth, AED. Is there an AED at every game? I hope there is. If there isn't, there should be. Are there people who have been trained in how to administer CPR at every sporting event, especially youth baseball? I became aware of this commotio cordis condition where a blow to the chest, a blow to the sternum can stop the heart.
Right.
When my son was playing youth baseball, we bought him a pad to put right over his sternum. A lot of kids wear them, and if they don't, they should. You take a line drive to the chest, you can have cardiac arrest and die before anybody even knows what's going on. So, you always look for the positive things that maybe can be used to help people in other circumstances, and youth baseball season is going to kick in here pretty soon, and I hope anyone connected to that sport, if they didn't already know about this risk, is aware of it now. As minimal as it is, you need to be ready for it, whether it's wearing the appropriate protective gear that may keep it from happening or making sure an AED is present at every game and that there's someone there who knows how to administer CPR effectively at every game, Chris.
Yeah, well, I think these are the type of incidents that bring this up in communities across the country to where then it starts to, wait, do we have this covered if this happened to us? I do think there's more awareness, even going to a high school football game here in the area, right? There's ambulance there now that just parked there the whole game. At least that's the way it is in a lot of the Northeast, right? There's somebody there just in case something does happen either with the players or the crowd, any type of emergency. But you're right. This is one where, probably a lot of high schools and communities need to double check their checkpoints and what their support system is if emergency happens. That was the cool thing about the NFL the other night. For all the times that we blame the NFL and go, oh, I thought they would be more buttoned up or, maybe not as cheap in this area. And we've criticized, the penny pinching in some things. And, let's chalk that up to one where I thought the NFL was all over that subject and very detailed. Oh, they weren't. Well, this was one that, they hit the bullseye. I mean, you can't say enough about how prepared they were, how good of a job both medical staffs did, and the fact that they, were fortunate that the hospital was not far from the stadium helped too. But, man, it seemed like it was a well-oiled machine as far as, resources and what they can do. And come on. I mean, by all due accounts, the guy was, dead on the field, and they resuscitated him and revived him. And I mean, that says it all in a lot of ways. I'm not trying to be insensitive by that. I'm just trying to explain the situation there.
Yeah, and you're right. And it was a reminder that they do have the highest level of care available, and it's ready to activate an emergency action plan that the league puts in place for every game. Hopeful that they won't need to use it, but ready to use it on a moment's notice as they did on Monday night. One of the things that I'm going to begin to shift my focus to, because I have noticed some opinions all over the place on what is available by way of care and financial assistance directly to Damar Hamlin. Damar Hamlin's toy drive via his GoFundMe page is now over $7 million, which is awesome.
Amazing.
At some point, his overall financial well-being comes into focus. And what I'm going to do, instead of trying to cobble together whatever voices are out there and snippets of this is available or that's available, I'm going to ask the NFL Players Association and the NFL jointly for a full explanation of what is in place to assist Damar Hamlin from healthcare expenses and for how long, compensation beyond his salary for this year and for how long. He was in the second year of a rookie slotted deal for a sixth-round pick. You get a fairly small signing bonus. You get minimum salaries. There are protections in the CBA for payment the following year in the event that you're placed on injured reserve. There are different layers and levels of protection based upon how many years of service you have. I just want to find it all out so we all have a snapshot of the protections available to him from the sport that he played because, you know, Chris, at some point, the right thing to do is going to be for people to donate money not to his toy drive, but to him.
Sure.
People are going to want to help him directly, and we just need to, at the right time, we need to understand that. But I've seen so many people talking about it. It's like, I don't really know what the rules are. The easy thing to do, and I'm in a position where I have access to these people. How hard? It dawned on me this morning. How hard is it? Because, like, I really don't want to pull up the CBA and spend hours trying to parse through all this and figure it out. And what if I'm wrong? It's like, hell, this is easy. This is easy. I'm going to ask the people who are responsible for it, and hopefully they'll tell me exactly what's available so we can all understand it. Because I think that's part of the care and the concern that we all have for Damar Hamlin. It's a combination of let's get him better and, there's signs of progress. That's good. But what about him moving forward? We all want to be sure he's properly taken care of, given that he's made, he accepted that risk like every player, but he's made that sacrifice involuntarily, but it's a product of being on the field and having that happen. We want to be sure he's taken care of.
Yeah, I hear you there. That's a tricky subject. It is. It's one that, again, even with my own scenario, and not to just bring that up, but there was like the talk of, I had people in the NFL, the NFLPA, telling me to sue the NFL, right? Because I almost died and lost my spleen and all that. This is where it's uncharted waters, but I wanted to keep playing football, so I wasn't going to, start a kerfuffle around the league about me wanting more money or suing, and that's where it's a little different. This one might be one where, yes, it's a career ender, and it's obviously life-altering. And it is where I was different. At least I was 3 years in the NFL. It was fourth year. I was, I forget not franchise, but high tender, right, Mike?
Vested
veteran.
Oh yeah, you had the high
tender.
Yeah, you had the high restricted free agency tender.
Exactly,
yes.
Right. So then, I was in the throngs of my career, but at least I was a free agent, and really, honestly, the Buccaneers were very nice to me and gave me a nice contract. Thinking I was going to turn the corner and get healthy, even though I wasn't there yet and it was still dicey. That was how they took care of me. And I'll be indebted to the Glazier family forever for kind of giving me the money and the wiggle room to do that. This is a little different than my scenario. And you're right. I don't know exactly. Medical bills, all that should be taken care of, certainly. But you're right. There's down the line future, like forever medical bills that are associated with this.
Potentially.
Yeah, potentially.
We don't know.
I know, you're right.
We don't know what the long-term prognosis is.
Right.
But again, once we know more,
yeah.
And we're still in this period where the doctors don't know, they're monitoring, they're hoping, we're all praying. But at some point, that question may arise, whether it's ongoing health care or whether it's compensation that he would have earned if he would have still been playing. See, the reality is, for everyone that the league welcomes in, either through the draft or undrafted free agency, every player at some point is going to be deemed by the NFL machine to no longer have the skills and abilities necessary to play the game at the highest level. So out goes a player who has been part of the league, whether it's for 1 year or for 20 years. In comes someone new. And if it just gets to the point where you don't want to do it anymore, you can't do it anymore, you're not as good as the other players who are coming in who are cheaper, and that's one of the very real dynamics of the NFL. The minimum salary for a 10-year player is so much higher than the minimum salary for a young player.
That's right.
Older players get pushed out all the time,
even if
they're better. They can still play.
Right.
But that's different from I suffered an injury while playing this game that prevents me from playing it ever again. And who knows? Maybe Damar Hamlin will be able to play again at some point in the future. What a story that would be.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
That's what happens.
Right.
But it's very different in my mind when someone has had their career interrupted directly by, in the early stages, not even in his full prime yet, still coming into who he was going to be as a player, still having a potential major contract out there that he'll never get now.
Right.
What is in place to protect that person financially when the worst case scenario happens? And it's a fair concern.
It is a fair concern.
And I just feel like so every time I pull up Twitter now, I see different clips and I see different tweets and I see different statements and different opinions and different information. I just have a feeling that some folks are kind of on the right track, but they're not there. And that's where, okay, like I said earlier, all I got to do is ask the question. Sometimes it's as simple as just saying, can somebody please tell me? Because I suspect the union by now either already has a spreadsheet or a list of terms available for any player that this would happen to, and they would be able to put together pretty quickly what's available to Damar Hamlin. So we can.
I would think something's there.
So we can do. We can do one of two things. One, we can say, how is there not more available? And here's hoping that gets fixed for everyone else that this may happen to in the future. And number two, if there's help that is needed specifically for Damar Hamlin, it can be mobilized. It can be provided at the right time. It's great that people are channeling their concern for Damar Hamlin into this community toy drive. That's awesome. But at some point, that fire hose of cash may need to be directed another way. And that's just kind of, and again, we're dealing with this like everyone else. Real time, the concerns that pop into our heads, we assume are popping into others' heads, and we're trying to just kind of keep track of everything and figure out where this is going to go while we all hope for more news that Damar Hamlin is making progress and will make a full recovery eventually from what occurred on Monday night. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.